I don't know if you're aware of this, everybody, but a Somali man has been detained in Guantanamo for 20 years. Remember when they had the Hamdi and Hamdan case, and many of those guys were released, and shortly thereafter, Sean Hannity flipped out. How can you possibly release these people? It's sort of like a Mark Levin with a little deeper voice. And he said 20% of those people upon release ended up returning, as he says, to anti-American activities. So get this. This is about 10 years, for some of them 7 years, after many of them were captured, tortured, no habeas corpus hearings. And that is required unless Congress universally lifts the writ of habeas corpus. For any person that the government, any form of government holds, they have to supply an opportunity for a habeas hearing, for the body of evidence to be shown and an accusation of a crime to be shown. If the government doesn't do that, they default and they have to release the person they're holding. That way they can't hold somebody indefinitely. So what do we see? Instead, they're holding people for years. 2005, 2006 comes along, guy named Hamdi, another guy named Hamdan, sue for habeas. They are victorious. What does Congress do? They write the Military Commissions Act after that, trying to grant the president the unilateral ability for the executive branch to lift the writ of habeas corpus individually, case by case. An absolute spit in the face of anybody who's familiar with British common law. Centuries of jurisprudential established tradition. Precedent upon precedent established, showing that people are supposed to get habeas corpus. Going back, of course, to William Penn. Tossed out by the Congress when George W. Bush was president. So what happens after that? It goes back to the Supreme Court, and they finally recognize that the Military Commissions Act is unconstitutional, but not completely. So what happens? This. Because of the carve-outs, a Somali man has been detained in Guantanamo for 20 years without habeas. This comes from the Center for Constitutional Rights. Dateline, May 6th. A Somali man detained without charge at Guantanamo since 2006 today asked the U.S. Court of Appeals for the District of Columbia Circuit to order summarily his release from Guantanamo because a lower court has failed for nearly 10 years to adjudicate his habeas corpus petition. One of 15 men still held at Guantanamo, Guled Hassan Duran, 52, still suffers from serious medical problems exacerbated by 2 decades of abuse and neglect in U.S. custody. Mr. Duran, a Somali citizen from the Dawood clan with prior lawful residence in Sweden, was captured in Djibouti in March of 2004 and disappeared. They're using this as he was put into disappearance into the CIA's rendition, detention, and interrogation program. He was transferred to Guantanamo in 2006. He has never been designated for prosecution or charged with any offense. Did you know about this man? Guled Hassan Duran. 20 years. He was transferred to Guantanamo in 2006. He has never been designated for prosecution or charged with any offense, was approved for release in July of 2021 based on a unanimous determination by senior U.S. government officials that he does not present a threat to the security of the United States, while U.S. officials committed nearly 5 years ago to undertake so-called vigorous efforts to transfer him. They made no discernible efforts to send him home to Somalia or safely resettle him in another country. Mr. Duran explained to the Periodic Review Board that approved him for transfer, quote, "All I want is just to move on with my life. I want to be reunited with my wife and my children. I have lost so much time with them, and it has been very difficult for everyone. I don't want to lose the next 20 years or however much time I have left in my life to Guantanamo. I don't want to die here." I've been in touch with the folks at the Center for Constitutional Rights, and I'm hoping to do an interview with some people about this story. I emailed them today. One of the Russians on our voluminous team emailed them today.